Ladies and gentlemen, I just realized that Bitcoin has crashed massively as well. And this is quite similar to what we have seen in gold and in silver as well. So there are some commonalities among these three so-called assets. And more importantly is there is a fundamental thing that we all have to learn from this, from Investment 101. And I think all of us must listen to this video, especially till the end, if you value your life savings. So the title of today's talk is The Crash of Bitcoin, Gold, and Silver. And there is some commonalities between three of them. I think it's important for us to take note. This PowerPoint deck will be loaded up in our Telegram group. Please remember to join us in our Telegram group to download this deck and also be alerted of my live stream and important information. So Bitcoin has crashed massively, and right now it has hit $78,000. So just to let you know right now, this is the graph. It's a massive drop, if you can see, over this dip here. Now from the peak of October, it has went down by 40%, a massive 40%. Now, this 40% may not be a big deal to some people because they say, I'll hold it forever. This is not the psychic of most Bitcoin investors. They are not investors. Most of them, they are speculators. They buy, sell, buy, sell, buy, sell, and they leverage, okay? And they get themselves killed in the process. Why do I know that? Because the report now says that $1.2 trillion has been lost in market cap, and many people are now writing how they've been wiped out from the crypto carnage and Holocaust. So I think this is a very important because it also spells some similarity with gold and silver as well, which I'm trying to share with you. Now, here I want to highlight that Warren Buffett has given an advice on this. Now, a lot of people don't want to hear, but please give me a chance to share what he says so that we all learn the basics of investment. There are three categories of investment asset. And we need to know out of these three, where does gold, silver, and Bitcoin fit into them? So the first category of investment asset is what you call currency-denominated asset. These are assets that are normally linked to currency, and these are things like your fixed deposit, US Treasury, and money market funds, or so on. So these are basically money that you put in a safe place in exchange for a small gain. Basically, you lend the money to other people to invest or to do some work whatsoever. So there was a time where currency-denominated asset went to a very high during the 2022 to 2023 great inflation that caused the interest rate spike to as high as 7% or so. But now this thing has came down dramatically. So these currency-denominated assets are not as attractive anymore. They're still okay, depending where I put in. I would consider in the case of Singapore, your CPF to be part of this as well. But unlike some US asset, the CPF actually gave quite good returns, especially on your SA and your RA and your CPF Life. Now, this is where he highlights there's a second category, what he call non-productive asset. This is the asset of hope. Why is it called asset of hope? This asset by itself does not do anything, right? So you have got Bitcoin, you have got gold, you got silver. Itself doesn't generate anything. So you can touch, you can feel gold, but it's not going to produce more things for you. Arguably, gold is quite pretty, so maybe you can make necklaces and earrings and bangles out of it and things like that. But Bitcoin is even worse. You cannot see anything, right? So itself has no dividend, no earnings, no yield, nothing. And its value largely depend on where you find someone that's willing to pay more for it tomorrow or day after. And this is what we call the greater fools theory. So you have to find another person that will buy from you. In short, he was referring to people invest in these are idiots. They have to find bigger idiots to buy from you. But maybe if you find a bigger idiot to buy from you, then you are not an idiot, right? So in that sense, you're looking for things like that. So in this kind of asset, there are no upper limit and there are no lower limit because there are no fundamentals to stop the fall. In the case of of stocks and shares, you know, it generates a string of dividends and things like that. So it could generate you something, right? But in the case of Bitcoin, gold, and silver, you know, there are no fundamentals to stop the fall. So the third kind of asset that Warren Buffett shares with us is what we call a productive asset. So productive asset could be things like farm, agricultural land that you farm on it, you will help to grow crops and things like that. It could be businesses that gives you things that generate returns. You know, you sell, you're a trader, you sell goods and services. You know, you are a company, you provide a service. All these are productive assets. Real estate is a productive asset because you know you can rent it out, or you can stay with it implicitly. Use a rental return from yourself, or if you have a commercial property, you rent it out for other people to run businesses and things like that. So all these are productive asset, and these are asset that has a theoretical flaw because it will always generate a stream of income for you. So productive assets are what we should all gear towards. Now, just to let you know what are crazy things that people invest in, these are examples of mania. During the Tulip Mania of 1637, tulip bulbs, these are tulip bulbs, they grow into flowers of tulip, and they were selling for, I don't know, $10,000, $20,000 in those days. You know, it was so mad, and nobody could understand why this kind of mania happened. And suddenly one day everything just vaporized. Okay, so given that as an example, we also know that there's another South Sea bubble where it's an 85% crash in a short while. Now you might think that in modern days nobody will think of it this way. No, in 2022 to 2024, non-fungible tokens, pictures, digital pictures of monkeys, ugly monkeys, and things like that. You know, they were going sky high, millions, multi-millions of dollars, okay, deca millions of dollars, now basically worthless. So you think that over time people have become smarter? I don't think so. So right now the question is Bitcoin going to be the new digital gold, or is going to be an NFT? I don't know, but it is clearly a non-productive asset, and non-productive asset got no lower limits and no upper limits. So whether you dare to touch it, you know, as a form of gamble. So why did all these assets now have a crash? The commonality is basically Kelvin Warsh is now being appointed to Federal Reserve, and he's now deemed as someone that will protect the value of the US dollar. And as a result, people say that, oh, US dollar is safer right now. They suddenly flood to US dollar and to also the currency denominated asset. And if that's the case, then suddenly the attractiveness of digital currency and gold and silver suddenly lost its shine. There's also another thing that we need to take note of is AI is booming, like mega booming. And right now we are able to leverage extensively AI in an incredible way that will change the lives of people. And that is what I think the real digital goal is, not Bitcoin and so on. So NVIDIA type of business, open AI type of business, data centers, power utilities are all having a massive bull run, and there are real money to back them up. So all this will suck up a lot of attractiveness away from gold, silver, and Bitcoin. So I just say this, you know, looking at manias and things like that, usually when it comes to mania, there's always a doubt. First, I think it's just a correction. That's what many people will think of it this way, okay? And when the panic comes, maybe today, maybe tomorrow, maybe years later, you know, people start wondering, why am I in this thing? I need to get out at all costs. And finally, the final bottom is everybody decided that this is a piece of junk that I won't. I don't think gold and silver will go down to that path, but don't forget, gold and silver has crashed massively before. We should not assume that it is a great store of value. But as for Bitcoin, wow, I'm not so sure, man. So Warren Buffett's final warning to everybody is if you own a non-productive asset, You're just hoping that the next guy who's going to buy from you is more excited than you were. So it is really an issue of you finding a greater fool. And I think this kind of asset, do you really want to touch it? Okay. I think it is a very dangerous asset to touch. And I just want to warn everybody that I think, once you reach a certain age, 40, 50, 60, 70s, do you want to risk your hard-earned savings in high-risk assets such as these? So I don't know where the road ahead will be for Bitcoin, but I do want to warn everybody, be careful of what I call the greater fool's asset. I think it's very dangerous. And that goes the same for gold and silver as well. I'm sure that there are logic why gold would go up and silver go up that everybody is thinking of. I actually think that they are slightly safer than Bitcoin. But I think Bitcoin is really dangerous. But all three of them falls into the asset class called the greatest fool asset. So do we want to risk ourselves touching a lot into this? I think it's kind of dangerous. In yesterday's live stream, I did talk about it. The CPF, I think, allow you to put no more than 10% into gold. I think that's a good yardstick. Where is it 5%, 10%? Don't put too much into assets such as this that can be very dangerous. So let me know your views, especially Bitcoin expert, okay? Crypto expert. I would like to hear what do you have to say on such note, okay? Thank you for your time, and I'll see you either in a live stream or my next video. Bye-bye.